No. Cold email is about to change forever, and no one is even realizing it. No one is paying attention. Now, in this deep dive, I'll break down how leading teams are reinventing cold outbound, how they're combining signal based targeting, social data, intent data, AI automation, high volume systems to replace outdated sequences, cut SDR count, and generate a ridiculous amount of pipeline at scale. And all without anyone actually realizing how the game has already changed. Now, in the video, you'll learn about the signal based and always on outbound system that top teams are running, how automation and AI now outperform traditional SDR teams at a fraction of the cost, and why cold email needs to operate like an ad network. So high volume, multi-angle, and never being turned off. And finally, why the teams that ignore this shift will definitely get left behind in 2025. Now, who am I? My name is David Walker-Dobson, and I run a company called Tent. And the company is centered around building go-to-market systems that are modern, signal-based, and intent-based to actually scale B2B SaaS companies and agencies. Now, I've built go-to-market systems for cybersecurity companies, local niche marketing agencies, creative agencies, and other high-ticket B2B service providers. And I'm actually trying to create these videos to help as many companies as possible build these modern systems. So they're AI-powered, automated, signal-based, and intent-based to actually allow them to scale. So let's get into the video. So this video is for you if you're a RevOps leader, ready to evolve, founders, CROs, CMOs, trying to scale lean teams, and if you are part of a B2B SaaS company or agency. Now, let's be very, very clear. Cold outbound is changing forever, and something is clearly broken in outbound, right? Reply rates, they're down. Everyone's using the same tools, the same messaging, the same sequencing. Prospects are overloaded. Their inboxes are crazy, crazy busy, just like mine and yours. And let's be honest, like we're overwhelmed. Now, the old approach was simple. You build a list, you blast some cold emails, you cross your fingers, and pretty much you were guaranteed to book meetings. But that era is over. The volume is going up and the signal is dropping fast. So to win now, you can't rely on just more reps and more automation, sending more emails. You need to think differently. You need a different strategy. You need to be smarter, one built for the modern buyer. So we're talking smarter targeting, stronger proof, systems that learn, and messaging that actually earns attention, right? Because it needs to be earned now. Because all of us, we have short attention spans, our inboxes are busy, attention must be earned. It's no longer given. So because outbound is no longer just about guessing, and now it's almost turned into this really technical and engineering based thing, a clear shift is starting to happen. Now, today I'm going to walk you through 4 critical changes that are shaping the future of cold outreach. So, as I said earlier, we're going from pray and spray to signal based outreach and like layering them together. I'm going to talk about the rise of the go to market engineer, the great divergence, and also relevancy times volume and multi channel as well. Now, each of these shifts will reshape how high performing teams think about outbound. And so it's not about, obviously, of course, it is a numbers game, but you now think about building a system, building an operation, building an infrastructure to generate you pipeline rather than just flinging out some emails, right? So let's go on to from pray and spraying to signal based outreach. Now, why do we need signal-based outreach? Why do we need it alongside volume? Because yes, prayer and spraying it's not an effective method. And full-time based outreach is an effective method. And that is the volume game. So full-time, you build your list, you segment your list, and you basically send your messaging based on pain points and so on, right? But now we also have signal-based outreach. Now, to be super, super clear, don't get me wrong, volume still matters, right? You still need to be running outbound consistently and at scale. But scale without relevance is nothing but noise. In essence, you're a spammer. And we're not doing that. We're not spammers. That's why the best teams are now combining volume and signal and intent to create a smarter, more timely outreach system. So the new model is volume times the signal. So you still need to send a lot of messages, but we're just not doing it blind anymore, right? We have insight or reason to reach out on top of our volume-based approach. So run always on outbound like an ad engine, test, learn, repeat, and so on. But at the same time, you should be layering in intent data and real-world signals to prioritize accounts that are signifying a potential buying signal, right? So these are things like job changes, tech installs, hiring spikes, content engagement, and anything that shows buying energy. anything that's relevant to your company and what you sell. So the reason why signals matter is because it gives you context, timing, and relevance, and you can use that in your messaging. They tell you who to reach out to, when, and why now. So you answer multiple questions in a prospect's head, which is why me, why now, and why you. So outreach based on signals, it lands warmer. It's almost like a warmer message rather than just completely cold. And it's because it's anchored in something that is real. This is important, real. So don't waste cycles on people well, you don't waste your higher leverage system. So this is like cold calling or LinkedIn. So we do automated LinkedIn internally. So you're not wasting these high converting mechanisms on people who aren't in the market or showing you a buying signal. So this is why the winning combo is to treat outbound like a two-track engine. One is the broad volume driven motion to test angles, be creative, and like make sure that you have that consistent pipeline. And track two is about precision, signal based outreach and intent based outreach that goes deep on the high value accounts. So this is not pray and spray, this is precision at scale. You have two things running at the same time. So why this strategy works in 2025 is because it's a dual approach. So you're blending smart volume with signal based timing, right? And this is important because the outbound landscape is shifted, right? Cold email isn't as effective as it once was. Like everybody knows this that's in the industry. And anyone that says otherwise is lying to you. So intent and at the same time, we now have more intent data because people are storing more information and basically spending more time on the internet. So we've now got more data than we ever have. And this is because of tools like Sixth Sense, Clay, Clearbit, Apollo, sorry. And they can help us like find these warm accounts before they've even raised their hand. So we would be the first movers. Well, that's the idea anyway. And of course, we have all these AI and different enrichment tools, and like even inbound is also slowing down. So I would argue that it's more important than ever for us to get smarter at outbound and do more of it to allow outbound to carry more weight. And once again, everyone is doing volume. Everyone, the barrier to entry for cold email and like building your cold email infrastructure and just sending horrible emails, it's incredibly low. So loads and loads of people are doing it. So relevance is a massive competitive advantage. Modern buyers, they want more context. They want to also be able to trust you. So at the end of the day, the tech is here, the data is live, and expectations have completely shifted. So signal-based outreach lets you act faster, less waste time, and show up when it truly matters. So listen, we've gone completely from pray and spray, and now you have to have a multi approach or multi signal or multi volume and targeted approach. It's just too important. So the next shift we're going to speak about is the rise of the go-to-market engineer. Now, I actually posted a video about this, I believe last week. I will link it in the description if you want more detail, but I'm just going to cover it briefly in this video, just very, very quickly. So the modern go-to-market team, typically there's loads and loads of tools and there's it's so much going on, right? And the real challenge isn't necessarily the tech. Like tech is no longer a moat because everyone has access to this technology, but it's how you combine all these technologies together to build a real go-to-market motion. And that's where the go-to-market engineer comes in. So the problem typically is B2B teams, there's like 15 plus different vendors and sales tools at any given moment that they're using. And the tools don't necessarily talk to each other. On top of the complex tools, we also have multiple stakeholders using the tools, and they're also not speaking to each other. And then you also have this new technology, AI, which is everywhere, that everyone is trying to figure out how to use, but doesn't know the best way to use it for the specific use case of go-to-market. So that's where the go-to-market engineer comes in. And we basically help you do things like automate your outbound. So, just cold email, score your leads, personalization, qualification, and so on and so on and so on. But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it just because I already recovered this quite thoroughly in this video. So if you want to watch it, just give that a watch. As I said, it will be in the description. Now, the next shift I want to talk about is the Great Divergence. Now, what is the Great Divergence? Now, we're entering a phase where everyone has access to the same tech stack. I've been banging on about this in this video. there's all this AI, automation, NAN, Make, Clay, ChatGPT, Claude, and these tools, once again, they're no longer a differentiator. Tech is no longer remote. Forget that. Yeah? Because everyone has access to it. So every single team is running the same or a similar version of the same tech stack, whether it's Clay, Apollo, Clearbit, ChatGPT, Zapier, NAM. And everyone is sending quote unquote personalized emails that sound, sorry, spelling mistake here, but sound very similar. And we're all pulling from the same playbooks. Like everyone is using the same formats, the same. So naturally, you get a fatigue in the market, right? Because everyone's pitched very similar things again and again and again, and that's where the divergence begins. So the top 1% of teams that aren't doing more of the same, they are actually building an edge. And typically, the divergence it exists in two places. It's just your approach and your offer, right? That's how you can actually build an edge in the market. So they're not just running outbound; they're actually on top of their great offer, they're engineering a system that is evolving and it's like you're constantly testing and there's a strategic velocity that allow you to like pivot in the market and find new winning angles. And this is why, like I said, it's important to find your foundational campaigns that are generating you pipeline, but you must be testing and experimenting, whether it's new signals, new data types, and so on. And the outcome typically is two go-to-market worlds. You get one stuck in the same place, whereas like nothing is happening, and there's the other one that's pushing boundaries, running experiments, and actually driving results. And it's because they're experimenting. They have their foundational campaigns, but they also have their experimental ones. This is so important. On top of that, the tools are evolving, but I do want to just hit home on something that's so important. The fundamentals still win. So yes, like we have this new technology, we have all of this new stuff, but you must be following the fundamentals. You need to have great foundations. Otherwise, like all this technology is a multiplier. So if you put loads and loads of good into technology, AI, and so on, you get loads and loads of bad out. No, sorry. If you put loads and loads of good into technology, you get loads and loads of good out. So it multiplies it. But the same is different on the opposite end. If you put loads and loads of bad, you're going to get crazy rubbish coming out of the other end. So some things I do want you to just be conscious of when you're building a cold email system, right? Or any outbound system for that matter. You need to have great copy. You need to be able to copyright, right? This is just so important. Because it doesn't matter if you can land an inbox. If you don't know how to portray or express your message correctly to the end user, you're not going to book no meetings. You need to also understand the end user and understand your ICP, because that will drive your copy. You need to be fast in regards to like the speed to lead. So once you get a response, you respond fast or you pick up that phone. And at the end of the day, if no one is actually seeing a message, like none of the above matters, right? So you need to make sure that you're actually landing in an inbox. So yes, cool, we have this technology and it's great, but the fundamentals are the foundation of everything that we do when it comes to go to market. And all the time that I've been doing cold email, they've never changed. And I've tried loads of different AI rubbish and AI personalizations, but look, anytime I've like distanced myself or gone off the path and almost ignored the foundations, I've always been burnt. So take it from me, do the foundations, right? Or don't forget them. Cool. Now, the fourth and final shift that I'm going to speak about is relevancy, volume, and multi-channel. Now, this is important because, like, once upon a time, or not once upon a time, but like, well, once upon a time for me, my focus was just purely cold email because it's scalable, automated, but you can also automate other channels, right? And like LinkedIn, for example. But ideally, what you want to be creating is that go-to-market engine. So it's way more than just sending some emails and sending some LinkedIn messages. It's scoring, it's website de-anonymization, it's scraping your competitors' posts, it's signals, it's calling your positive replies, it's re-engaging your newsletter, and so many other things, right? But this kind of system is naturally going to be unique for each company, because not every single company is going to be doing webinars and events, paid ads, cold outbound content marketing, and LinkedIn. They might be doing webinars and some paid ads and cold outbound. They might be doing some content marketing, some paid ads, and that's it, right? So I'm not saying you need all of this, but I would argue that you need at least probably one or two, no, sorry, at least two for like a complete go-to-market engine. So I just want to explain this system just in a little bit more detail. So the way it works is you have your traffic sources, right? Then you have your data capture or like responses and stuff. Once we have our data capture, then everything, all of this is sent into Clay or all your chosen RevOps platform. There's a few, but I would say Clay is the best one. On top of that, the data is also sent to your CRM, your source of truth. Then with Clay or your CRM, you can then start routing this data to wherever it needs to go. So for example, if there was a webinar attendee, put their data into Clay. If they're qualified, put it into the CRM. And if they're like a high quality account or a high value account, they could be sent to an SDR for manual prospecting. If you were doing cold outbound and then you get a positive response, that positive response is pushed to Clay and the CRM. High value prospect, or I would argue should be calling all of your positive responses, but yeah, they could then be sent to an SDR or the founder could pick up the phone and call them. Events, once again, any subscriptions or event attendees into Clay, scoring, and so on and so on. I know you get the message. The point is that you can have all of these systems automatically pinging any given moment, pushed into Clay, and then automatically sorted and routed, or a cold email sent to them, or a LinkedIn message sent to them based on preset qualification. So you're almost building a living, breathing engine, making decisions for you on autopilot, your own AI agent, I hate that term, but your own go-to-market AI agent working for you actively, sending emails if the prospect is qualified for an email, sending a LinkedIn message if they're qualified for a LinkedIn message, or being routed straight to an SDR for manual prospecting if they're a high value account. So ideally, this is where we're going in 2025 and beyond. This is where kind of cold email and cold outbound is going towards. So it's not just going to be cold email. Cold email will exist within a system that is almost living, breathing, and seeing. Now, look, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Join my newsletter. I'm going to be dropping weekly I'm going to be dropping weekly gems on outbound systems, AI workflows, NAM flows that I build, signal-based strategies, and everything in between. So if you really, really want to get ahead of your go-to-market strategy, lock into my newsletter. And look, if you want us to build something for you, if you want us to run cold email, help you build some pipeline for your company, completely automated, let's talk about designing you a shiny outbound engine. All right. Apart from that, thank you for watching. Love you lots. Have a blessed day.